Mr. Driller is a very simple action puzzle game, yet like all great action puzzle games, it's addictive as hell. You take control of Susumu, a guy who has to solve the mystery of the coloured blocks that have suddenly started sprouting from under the ground. There are two difficulties of gameplay, a 500 meter run with 5 floors of blocks, and a 1000 meter run with 10 floors. Players begin on the 0 meter mark and proceed to drill through the coloured blocks. If any blocks of the same colour are attached to the block prior to it being destroyed, it will disappear as well. Once the player reaches the end of a floor, there's a large green block to drill through, which also destroys all the blocks above it, clearing the way for the next section. Game Boy Color is probably the worst port of Mr. Driller. That could be due to the weaker hardware, or maybe just a lazy port. While it looks and plays reasonably well, it sure doesn't sound too hot. That high-pitched tone is agony on the ears. That's not the main issue though. Unfortunately, when things get a little busy, the game tends to slow down quite a bit. This can really put you off, as a game which requires fast reflexes is not helped when the timing of your button presses alters. This is still a good game, but just not the best version out there. Coming in a much higher resolution to the Game Boy Color version, this Wonder Swan color port is actually pretty close to the arcade in terms of looks, thanks to the widescreen aspect ratio of the Wonder Swan. Gameplay wise, it's what you'd expect. Tight, precise controls that get the job done. All in all, a very nice portable version of Mr. Driller. Looking quite nice and sounding far better than the Game Boy and Wonder Swan, this Java-based mobile phone version looks like it could be a winner. It has all new playable characters and plays reasonably well. In fact, the only downside is that the scrolling isn't as smooth as say the Wonder Swan. Oh, and it lacks some of the sound effects. Opening up with a poorly video encoded version of the arcade's introduction screen, the PlayStation version looks as if it's going to be a real budget effort. In actual fact, this is a pretty close port of the arcade game. There are even some new game modes to play once you get bored of the standard arcade mode. After Namco brought Dreamcast owners the amazing Soul Calibur, we all wondered what technical marvel would Namco bring next to the Dreamcast. What did we get? Mr. Driller. What a letdown. Sure, it's a perfect port with added bonus content such as extra game modes, longer stages and a remixed soundtrack, but it's a big drop in terms of technical marvel compared to Soul Calibur. Mr. Driller was also Namco's last Dreamcast game. Why, you may wonder? Well, because Namco's money giver, Sony, were back in town with the PlayStation 2. We all know just how loyal Namco are then. Such a shame because Soul Calibur blew everything away when it was new, and still looks good even now. And let's take a look at all those versions of Mr. Driller running side by side.